Generic yet polite salutations, folks. This is Trent Mayfair coming to you from my friend's apartment in Southern California because my friends are wonderful and so many have let me couch surf over the last couple of weeks as I have gone down the West Coast. I'd plead the fifth on some of these things, but quite honestly, I drank that all last week, so I can't do that one anymore. But like many of my forebears with which I have no relation, well beyond computer game that I played in my childhood, I too crossed the prairies, ascended the heights of the Rocky Mountains, and followed the Oregon Trail into the Pacific Northwest and went, huh, it's raining. So I head down into California. And as you know, I went down to Mount Shasta. A friend let me sleep on their couch for a couple nights. And then a cousin of mine allowed me to do the same in Middle California. And now I'm in Southern California, where I attended Twin Mask. And another friend who I just happened to run into at the game, of all coincidences, has allowed me to crash on their couch for the week. And I truly could not have done this trip without all the people who are allowing me to couch surf and stay in their guest rooms and be a general pain in the ass for them. I am truly grateful, and I do hope they know how grateful I am for their assistance in allowing me to do this trip. So last week I had wanted to take the time to shoot a video with tips for newbies, but I kind of ran out of time, and so I'm just going to kind of impart the information in quick form here. If you are a new player to LARPs, general things that you might want to consider. Number one, don't steal other people's backstories just because you think they sound cool, and especially don't steal it at the last minute. Backstories are complex things that an individual has worked hard on, and to have somebody just walk up and go, oh, that's better than my idea, I'll do that too, it leads to that person having a weak storyline, so they're scrabbling to fill in details. The original backstory creator now looks like a jerk for having the same backstory as the one who stole it, especially if the thief tells the backstory to the group first. Respect the originality of other people and make up your own backstory that appeals to you, then bring it to the GM or character marshals for tweaking and approval. Another thing that I've noticed amongst newbies, if you are not trained to provide medical aid, do not approach an injured person. Stand by, but, stand further back. That way you can lend a hand if it's called upon, and, if you know what you're doing. But let those who have been hired or designated by the game handle stuff, unless you're a real-life doctor. And for the love of whatever deity you want to do right by, please don't mistake a first aid course for legitimate patient care. I understand that it's great in, an emergency situation, but EMT trumps first aid, doctor trumps EMT. It's really important to understand that. Just because you had a wilderness first response course or a first aid course doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be the most qualified person in the situation to handle it, especially if there are others rushing up. By all means, go up and offer help, but look for the lead person. Don't just try to jump in and take over. Another thing that I have noticed that sometimes newbies might have a little bit of difficulty with is personal space is important. If you're sitting at a picnic table, it's understandable. You might rub shoulders with another person, but when you're standing around, try to give a couple of feet of space at least, and don't hover around a single person for an entire game. Okay, admittedly, I've been guilty of that one too, but I really am trying to get better about it. I do try to analyze my behavior and see how I can make people more comfortable around me and all that various other stuff. But for the most part, yeah, try to respect personal space and personal boundaries. A lot of us are rather socially awkward. We don't always get this. Just try to keep it in mind. Think of how uncomfortable you might get when somebody stands right on top of you. Don't do the same to somebody else. That's basically what it is. Additionally, going back to the concept of backstories, everyone wants to play the great hero or the badass. If you don't want to be the same as everyone else there, find a different niche to fill. If you come into your first game touting yourself as the greatest champion of all time, You have nowhere to develop your character. Well, until your first fight when you end up face down in the dirt and realize that just watching martial arts movies doesn't mean you actually know how to fight with weapons. Find something original. You know, you can be a great fighter and still have more depth to the character than just me swing sword well. We're all creative spirits. We all have the capability for a slightly deeper character that allows us for greater storylines, stuff like that. And again, maybe that greater storyline is just me looking for stronger things to kill. That's perfectly fine, but there still has to be a certain depth to it. Another thing is always understand that all of your characters will always be based on you unless you're willing to deliberately ignore everything that you know how to do in life and train in new skills you've never even thought about studying. Don't be afraid to use aspects of yourself in the building of your character. Pick 1 to 3 of your real life skills and 1 to 3 skills you don't have that interest you in making your character, and that way you can gain a deeper immersion experience that still feels comfortable to you whilst giving you room to explore things you otherwise wouldn't. Now, the last bit of advice that I have for new players is that the way to win a LARP is to go, make friends, have fun, progress the storyline, and enhance the world. If your idea of fun is making the game miserable for others and hurting other players, then take that money you were going to spend on LARP gear and admission costs and find yourself a good therapist. LARP is there for people to explore worlds and ideas they wouldn't normally experience in a safe space for everyone involved. Deliberately trolling other players only demonstrates your misery and creates a headache for the administration as they try to be polite to you. No GM or marshal wants to punish or ban their players. It's the players who force administrators to do it, and every time they are forced to, it weighs on the administrators in long-term ways that are hard to describe. Ask a LARP GM if they've ever had to ban a player, and their eyes darken, their face turns somber, and their mood is ruined for the rest of the day as they internally ruminate on the experience, whether or not they share the details with you. Make sure that your fun doesn't become someone else's trauma. It's all a game. We're all here to have fun. Now, when it comes to the administration and the rulebook and everything like that, well, CO refused to play at this game, so it was completely on me, and, well, it wasn't so much a,
Anyway. Hey guys. He's sleeping on my sofa. It's your girl Jai. So let me tell you about this game. Let me review his notes. Administration. No. They had some really good processes, but overall they were not nice and welcoming people. Except for Scott. Scott was wonderful. Congratulations, Scott. Overall, that's about it. I don't think I actually saw any form of rules or logistics or really any other marshal you could go to at any point during gameplay if you had a question. Like, they didn't exist. You had to go wait in some terrible lines at logistics. Made no sense. What else is there? That was kind of stucky. The player base. Player base is amazing. And as a woman LARPer, since this game is run by a woman, it is extremely welcoming to women and super friendly to them. Like, dudes aren't gonna try and get you to go into the back of their van. No one is trying to do that there. It's amazing. It's refreshing. It's truly lovely. Really, the best thing about this LARP is its players. What else is there? Trying to read his notes. Don't tell us your backstories, blah, blah. There were some issues I had with the rules. I think they're overburdening. They're kind of cumbersome. The fact that you can't just go online and look up what all of your spells will be for all of the ranks into infinity. It's kind of weird. I have to find it out in game. I don't want to find it out in game. I want to build a character concept, not build a character concept, get into game, and then find out what I did is impossible to do with the list, and then rewrite my character 4 times. Just give me a list of the spells in the game. And also make your spells useful. They have like 400 spells at this game. You really don't need 400 spells. Like, they're making it work, because again, the player base, amazing. But no one actually needs this. This isn't a necessity. You don't need to invent new things all the time. Just have things that work. What else is there? I'd ask him, but he's in a coma. So, yeah, no, I don't have a ton to add. Overall, it was good. As a woman, I'll come back. I'm going to keep trying it. It was quite diverse. both in and out of game. The characters are diverse. The players were from diverse ethnic and religious backgrounds. Everything was pretty good, except for the weird spell system. The scroll system. So they have a system where they actually print out the spells onto scrolls, which sounds super cool in theory, and I was excited about it at first. And then it dawned on me that every time I want to cast anything, I have to be like, oh, look at all these scrolls, and pick out like a Bible. Now I gotta carry like a literal Bible on me to actually cast anything. And then if I lose one of these scrolls, I can't cast that spell anymore. And the only way to get new scrolls is to get blood ink, which is expensive, or to purchase them in game to learn them. I can't just have someone teach them to me like they're a standard skill. This seems a little ridiculous. Like, I haven't seen how it plays out fully, so I'm not going to say it's a terrible idea. I'm just saying it's clearly not the best. But yeah, so there's my general synopsis of it. And it goes into my general advice for LARPing and GMs in general, which is you don't have to make your players happy. You just don't make sure they're not unhappy, and it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, also, Como Boy, Trent over here, will be at Belagarth in Las Vegas on Saturday, assuming he wakes up. And he will wake up because I want him out of my fucking apartment.